All right, friends. My guest on episode 84 of the Spicer Speaking podcast, a mere 20 years old, hails from Puebla, Mexico, and is an incoming junior at UCLA, where he plays golf and he plays well on the heels of three just terrific months of swinging a really sweet stick. And by further virtue of a stellar performance in final qualifying last week during golf's longest day, bookend 65s at Hillcrest Country Club, qualified for the 123rd playing of the U.S. Open, getting underway this week at the Los Angeles Country Club. Welcome, Omar Morales, to the Spicer Speaking podcast. Hello, Omar.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Oh, I appreciate your time during an exciting week for you, man. Before we get to the Open, before we get to some of the golf, let's get a little background on you, buddy. Hailing from Puebla, Mexico. That's where you were born. That's where you grew up. Is that where you went to high school as well?
Yeah, I still live there. Yeah, I started playing golf when I was 6, and my dad introduced me to the game because he's been playing for, quite a long time. And yeah, he once took me to play, well, not to play, to watch him play with his buddies. And I sort of didn't like it at the start because I was just sitting in the cart. But once I actually got the opportunity to hold on to a club and make the golf swing and hit the ball, I really liked it, and I thought it was unique, as all of us golfers know. And yeah, I never left it since.
In Puebla, Mexico, is I've traveled around the country a lot, played a lot of golf in your home country. Golf hotbed? Is there a lot of courses where you grew up?
No, there's I mean, it's a big town, but there's like there's 5 golf courses where I live. So yeah, not like golf in Southern California for sure.
As you were growing up and getting better, when did you start to realize that you were pretty darn good at the game?
I mean, not not really until I was maybe 13 or 14, and I really started practicing a little harder and with more effort. But yeah, I mean, I've always loved to play, and I grew up in a golf course where there were a lot of good junior golfers, and there were a couple players on the web.com tour back then. And I I think we looked up to them, and those guys were, kind of what we aspired to be like. And because they set a very good example, I think, it has attributed to my success right now.
Fascinating golf country where you come from, Mexico, a country of 130 million people. Again, you're from just outside of Mexico City, which I think is 8 or 9 million people. It's a country, as mentioned, that I've traveled to and played a lot of golf and written about a lot of golf courses, about 200 or so in the country of Mexico. Yet not a ton of either PGA or LPGA golfers with the Mexican flag next to their name. Of course, we can talk about the great Lorena Ochoa. She's probably at the forefront, the Hall of Famer. Just an amazing career. Retired at the age of 28. I think she won like 27 times in 6 years. One can only imagine what she could have further accomplished if she played, heck, even another couple of years. But not a ton of influence from players born in Mexico on either of the top two, or men or women. Why do you think that is, Omar?
I don't really know. I guess I guess it's a little less.
Un momento,
Oh,
deja que escuche.
I guess it's a little less, golf is not as popular as it is here in the US. Or yeah, I mean, my hometown has 5 golf courses, and population is, I think, 5 million people in the States. So it compares to nothing like, Florida, Texas, or California. So I think that could be a big factor. But I mean, I as long as you know uh as long as you play for fun or whatever, as long as you achieve your purpose in playing golf, whether that's, beating one of your friends or, playing on the weekends or, trying to be a pro golfer, as long as you accomplish that, then, the game is, I think, for all people to play. So yeah.
Again, sticking kind of with your formative years, shortchanged you a little bit on the resume. Eventually became the top ranked amateur in your country for in Mexico for 2018 and 19. During those years, who were you looking up to? I know that you said that your dad was a big influence, that the players that were around your course also seemed to be motivating factor for you. But as far as professional golfers, men or women, whose game were you looking up to during those years?
Um, yeah, so 2018 and 19. Um, I think I looked up to Brooks Koepka a lot because that was the year 2018. That was the year I think where he won the US Open and the
And the
PGA.
PGA?
That was 2019, yeah. But yeah, Brooks was definitely there. Tiger, always, and that was actually the year that he won the Masters. I actually played a tournament with it. The Sunday he won the Masters, I was playing in the tournament, the first round, and I ended up winning that tournament. Um, yeah, so Tiger, I would say Brooks, and yeah, I'd say Tiger and Brooks, yeah.
Why Brooks Koepka? Why did he stand out for you?
Well, I just thought he, just from seeing him on TV, he was just, I mean, it was obvious that he was just incredibly competitive, and I don't know, he felt like he was incredibly confident in himself, and he was able to win a lot of major championships. So I looked up to Brooks because of those reasons.
Not just he's obviously more than just a fine player,
Yeah.
but the way that he conducts himself on the course, the competitiveness in Brooks Koepka. I should personally interject, not really a personal fan, but when he was winning those previous majors, he was the Iceman, and you could just see him stomping through that turf grass and walking on a distinct path to win those major titles, um, and and a demeanor that not really wavering. Is that how you like to conduct yourself on the course? Haven't had the pleasure of seeing you play in person. Or are you a guy that's chatty, smiley, everything that Brooks Koepka is not, or are you kind of the Iceman style?
I'd say I'm a little bit of both. I mean, I do smile a lot on the course, and there's also times where I'm a little bit of the Iceman, and I kind of don't react to anything. But I think that's also one of the reasons I looked up to Brooks, because I was very reactive, and reactions to bad shots, getting overly excited about making a putt or birdieing a hard par four, or just hitting good shots overall. Then I remember when Brooks won at Bethpage, he was, I think, after the second or third day, he had like a big lead,
Yeah.
and he was just like, the his demeanor didn't change, and I was like, well, maybe I should try that out. And yeah, I got a lot from watching him. So yeah.
Ultimately, your career path, of course, took you to LA and UCLA. When you were looking at different schools and different collegiate playing opportunities, why did that seem the right fit for you, Omar?
Well, yeah, when I was, in the recruiting process, I had a bunch of options because I played well in junior golf, and when I came to UCLA to see the courses we play, and how practice is conducted, and to just watch the overall area of UCLA, and what it takes to be here. I thought it was a great option because the courses we play, because of the history of the program, the history of the school itself, the academics. Yeah, I just thought it was a really cool place, and it was a place that, I think fits my personality, and yeah, I just thought that there aren't very many like negatives about UCLA. So yeah, I'm very very glad of the decision I made.
Yeah, not a real tough sell, I guess I would say, in the recruiting
Oh,
process. Of course, you're right in the center of Los Angeles. Certainly exciting for a young person, and the alumni for both the men's and women's programs at UCLA is amazing, and the courses that you get to play. We're going to talk about a few of them momentarily. Not too bad to be able to get around on a weekly basis at some of the finest private clubs, not just here in SoCal, but basically the country. Didn't sound like it was a real tough sell for you, Omar.
no, I would agree.
Friends, you're tuning into episode 84 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. My guest is Omar Morales. He's an incoming junior at UCLA. This week, he'll be appearing in his first golf major championship, the 123rd playing of the U.S. Open, taking place at a course what I can't imagine is more than a mile or two from where his dorm or his apartment is at
Yeah.
the Los Angeles Country Club. I'll look forward to being out there in person myself, doing some radio reportage for rounds 1 and 2. Omar, let's talk a little bit more about the path that has taken you to LACC and the 123rd playing of the U.S. Open. These last, I guess, 3 months have been really just witnessing some terrific play. I mean, you've been on fire. Let's just kind of go through the checklist here a little bit. In April, you got your first individual NCAA a collegiate win at the El Macero Classic. Followed that up by an appearance at the Mexico Open at Vidanta on the PGA Tour, where you played well. I think you missed the cut by just a shot. Second round, 67. I'm going to press pause on that right there, man. Tell me about that experience at the Mexico Open, and certainly that second round where you played so well.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, it's super grateful for having played in the Mexico Open, and couldn't think of a better place than Mexico for my PGA Tour debut. And yeah, it was amazing. I was a little sad by the first round. I was 6 over at one point through, I think, 13 holes. So I don't know, I think that flipped a switch in me and said I need to turn this around, and I birdied three of my last 6 holes. So yeah, that was huge, and three of my last 5 holes, I think. Yeah. And then yeah, that was massive. And to have a chance to make the weekend there on Friday was, it was pretty special. And um yeah, just a little bummed out that I missed it by one, but overall it was a great experience. It was my it was not terrible for my first tour event, and yeah, I look forward to many more.
Were you nervous? Were you excited? Describe the emotions of being that event as a 20-year-old collegian.
Yeah, I was yeah, definitely a little nervous, but I was surprisingly more comfortable on the course than I would have thought. I mean, I didn't feel bad on the course or felt very nervous on the course at all. An hour before teeing off the first round, I was freaking out a little bit, especially because I teed off 10, and 10 is like it's probably the hardest driving hole. It has, hazard left, water right. So yeah, it was intense. But yeah, as soon as I got over that first tee shot, I felt, surprisingly just comfortable around the course. And um yeah, just didn't hit many good shots. It didn't hit it that bad the first round, but I made a triple on a par three, and I, you know, killed a little bit of my confidence. And oh well, you live and you learn.
Did you have a nice gallery of support from friends, family, and so forth in your native country?
Oh yeah, the fans were incredible, and the I got a lot of love from the gallery. And yeah, I had my dad there, my mom there, my brother there, my little sister there, and a couple friends from back home.
Let's get back to the chronology after that fine appearance at the Mexico Open at Vedanta. Came out here about 3 minutes from whence I speak right now, right here to Palm Desert, California, for the U.S. Open's local qualifying at Classic Club, and made your way on there with a fine 68. Why'd you choose Classic Club for your site of local qualifying?
Well, I originally wanted to go to Brentwood because it's one of the courses we play sometimes with UCLA, but the site filled up in like 10 minutes. So once I tried to register, it was already full. So I asked my assistant coach. I remember my assistant coach, Patrick. He said that he had played Classic Cup before. So I don't know. It just sounded like a little like appealing, and I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, it's a 2 hour drive from my apartment, so it's not that bad. So yeah, I signed up and made it through, and it was great. Yeah.
The first time you'd ever played it.
Yeah. Well, I played a practice round before, but yeah, the first time I ever played it.
Well, if only to give a little desert love. What'd you think of the course? I mean, I personally, I struggle there. While it does have a lot of generous resort style fairways, par threes on that track can be very, very challenging, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the course, not knowing the course, it did play to my strengths. I consider myself a good iron player and a good driver. So um, yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was, even though it's wide, if it in the practice round it was blowing like 15, 20 miles an hour. So it did play a little different in the tournament because there was barely any wind. But I thought it was cool, and the course looks really wide, but the fairways were super firm that it wasn't that wide anymore. So yeah, it was in great shape as well. Greens were rolling good, and yeah, it was great.
That segued, of course, to golf's longest day last week on June 5 to a course with which you much more familiarity, Hillcrest Country Club, where Omar went 65, 65, earned medalist honors at that final qualifying in a field that was filled with all manner of professionals, a lot of PGA Tour players with multiple wins. Charlie Hoffman among them. He did make it to the U.S. Open through that qualifying, but you still beat Charlie Hoffman, I think, by 3 strokes. Describe your familiarity with Hillcrest Country Club. I know it's a question you've been asked at least a few times in the past week. I gathered you've been around that track just a few times the last couple of years, Omar.
Yeah, we play at Hillcrest with UCLA about once a week. But consistently once a week. Some weeks we don't play. But yeah, I'm really familiar with the course, so I was pumped that I did get to play Hillcrest for my final qualifying. Um, yeah, it was great. Couldn't have been a better place, and yeah, I just played 2 solid rounds. I know I just needed to play my game, and I know the course well, so I didn't have to do anything crazy. I just thought I had to keep my composure and just hit solid shots. And I didn't look at the leaderboard once, not after round one, not at any holes during round two, but I hit my drive on my last hole, the ninth hole of the day, my 36th hole. And then I asked my brother who was caddying with me if I needed to do, if I needed to make eagle to make it. He was like, no, dude, just make par, you're in. And fair enough, I made birdie. So yeah, turned out great.
Is that different than what you would typically do? Do you generally like to know where you stand or what your score is in tournaments?
No, I never really check the leaderboard. I only check it, after round one or round two or, round three if it's a 4 day tournament. But yeah, I never check leaderboards. I'm kind of the guy who just, I'm just in my own world and playing my game. I do like to check it on the 18th hole just to know, like, if I needed to make eagle to make it, I would have, chosen a different club on my second shot and not go for the front of the green. And, you know, I do like to check it on the last hole, but overall, no, not at all.
Well, come this Thursday morning, one not need not scroll far to find Omar Morales on the leaderboard. Tee times came out yesterday. Of course, Omar, first tee time, first tee, first tee shot of the 123rd of playing of the United States Open. Yeah, that's going to be Omar Morales, 6:45 a.m. again, first tee at the LACC. What was your reaction when you saw those tee times come out, and then when you knew that you were going to hit the first tee shot of the Open?
I was excited. I mean, first ball in the air at the US Open, it's no small thing, and it's an incredible honor. And the times we play LA Country Club, we play at like 7:30 or 8. So it's a very similar tee time to what I always play at LA North. So it's not going to be a lot different, 45 minutes. And now, for being the Open now in June, it's a little warmer than, teeing off in January at 7:30. So yeah, it'll play about the same sort of, temperature or conditions as what I usually play at LA North.
Is that your preference to have an early tee time and just wake up early and be like, yeah, let's go get it? Or would you rather have those extra hours to kind of think about it, practice a little bit more, roll a few more putts, or you like having that early tee time?
Yeah, I'm actually okay with really early or really late. I also like playing really late, but yeah, just no time to think about it. Just go play golf and, see where that takes you.
I'm sure you got no shortage of messages from your friends and fellow Bruins and your family where they're like, dude, now we got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to come watch you play.
Yeah, I've gotten the one not a text message, but my dad saw tea time and he said like, "Wow, that is really early." I'm like, "Okay."
Omar will be playing alongside. I'm probably going to butcher this gentleman's name. It's Dion Hermanhuis. Might have got it right. You might have to ask Dion when you see him Thursday morning. He's out of South Africa, and the far easier to pronounce Jacob Solomon out of Auburn, Alabama. Does it matter with whom you play? Does that matter to you at all? Did you have any hopes, Omar, that I don't know, maybe you get paired with, say, Bruin alumni Patrick Cantlay?
Um, I don't know. I guess it I'm not really, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm kind of there, even if I'm playing with a really close friend of mine, I'm kind of in my own world, and you know, uh, it's cool to meet new people as well. So,
uh, as referenced, certainly not your first time at the LACC, but let's face it, whether it be boots on the ground with fans on Thursday morning or those subsequently tuning into the television broadcast on Thursday, we probably estimate 95, 98% of people, Omar, will be seeing the grounds of LACC for the first time ever. For yourself, I don't know. Can you guess how many times you played that North Course?
uh, probably like 25 times before this week, around there. I'd say like 20 times, yeah.
Well, that may well be the most of anybody in the field for the U.S. Open. I mean, we know the SoCal guys, the aforementioned Cantlay. We know that Max Homa has had success there at the Pac-12 championships several years back. Colin Morikawa played very well there in the Walker Cup. Uh, but a lot of other guys, this week is the practice rounds might be their first experience ever setting foot on those grounds. I think that gives you a slight advantage.
Yeah, I think it could, knowing golf course is important, and not only knowing it, but having played there a bunch of times and having played good and bad rounds, I think it could turn out to my advantage. But at the end of the day, it's very solid championship golf course, and it's an incredible condition. So you got to play well, whether you know or don't know the golf course as well. But yeah, you just got to hit solid shots. It's a great test of golf.
I think another SoCaler was Ricky Fowler in the early week interviews, speaking toward the fairways that can be pretty sizable at LACC North. But Ricky Fowler said, looks big, plays small. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, some of the fairways look bigger than what they actually are. Like number five, it looks really big off the tee, but once you get up over the hill, you see the fairway sloping hard from left to right, so the fairway is not as big. Or number 13, the same thing. It slopes hard from left to right, so your fairway is not as big as it looks. And um yeah, there's a couple other holes where the fairway really like slopes uh kind of away and towards the rough. So yeah, but there's also like some really tight, like number one fairway is tight, like it's really tight. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Do you have a sense in any way? I mean, I think really a lot of what we know about this US Open is what we don't know. A lot, again, there's just not a lot to go on with how LACC is going to play. We know it's a par 70 card. We know that there are five par threes, which is obviously atypical. We know that first hole is an opening par five. We've got a drivable par four sixth in there. I mean, we kind of got a sense of the card, starting to get a sense as the open grows near of the conditions, what the rough is going to be like. Green speed's going to run at about a 13 reportedly. But do you have any sense? I mean, is this going to be a US Open where one under is like the winning score, or dude's maybe going to be chasing 10 under? I don't know.
Yeah, I think yeah, I have no idea what the scores are gonna be like.
I don't think anyone knows. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a couple under, could be a couple over. I don't really know. Being it for it being my first US Open, I think I don't know uh the scores, what the winning score will be.
Do you have a sense though if this is going to if the course will hold its own, that it is going to be a true US Open style test of championship golf?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, we do have like 290-yard par threes, so I think that can make it tougher. So yeah, I think it'll be a great test.
You are one of 11 collegians in this US Open field, which it's a pretty haughty number, man. Does that make you think a little bit more comfortable seeing a lot of guys that you competed against in the Pac-12 and competed against in tournaments beyond?
Yeah, I mean, I've some of the guys that are playing, I've played with since I was 9, 10 years old. So yeah, it's fun to see them at one of golf's biggest stage, and yeah, it's exciting. I think college golf is college golf has got a great level.
Yeah, and I think that the 11 players in this event certainly speak to that. One more for you today, Omar, before we let you get back to practicing and prepping for the 123rd playing of the US Open. Are you a guy that you like to set expectations? You like to set goals? Hey, I want to go shoot this number. I want to go make the cut. I want to maybe, there's a couple players in particular that I want to make sure I have a better score than them. I don't know. What's the perspective and attitude with which you're going into this event?
Yeah, I don't really make any results oriented goals. I'm really a guy who just sets goals in terms of process and strategy, and uh, having that strategy or process lead you to a place. So my goal for the week is just to play my game and not look to other players and try and be like them, and also not be intimidated by the situation. And I know I'm gonna be a little nervous. I know I'm gonna hit bad shots, and I just gotta own it. That always happens in tournaments, and um, just gotta be really patient and keep moving on.
One more quick hitter for you. You referenced your caddy at final qualifying. Who's your caddy for the US Open?
It'll be Armin, head coach here at UCLA.
Okay. Has he caddied for you before?
No, first time, but I mean he's been out since the start of the season, so yeah, he's giving me some tips on the golf course and off the golf course as well. So yeah, I feel good with him in the bag.
Seems like a good mind meld, a familiar voice in the ear, and undoubtedly a gentleman that has also just a wee bit of familiarity, rather, with LACC North. Omar, great story. I'm so appreciative of your time during an exciting week for you. Again, I will be on the grounds. I might not be there 6:45 on Thursday morning, but I undoubtedly look forward to watching you play at the Open. Thanks for your time, man, and go get them.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Excited to compete this week.